Hi, I'm Convers Jr., two-time Grandmasters World Champion and Team DD player. Today we're up at Piney Woods and I've got the opportunity to do an in the bag, and it's been a while. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with what I'm putting with right now, because it's changed quite a bit. Now I use multiple molds of putters depending on the situation, just like you'd use multiple molds of drivers. So probably my bread and butter putter is the Judge. And it's just what I rely on day in and day out to throw in. I'm starting to become a real believer in the Deputy, especially on the longer shots. It's just so straight that I can count on it holding the line and not coming into a hyzer early. The third one that's really new to the bag but is becoming a standby is the Slammer. The Slammer, for me, is something that I can use as a forehand or a backhand disc. Backhand, I'm primarily using it into headwinds or to throw a little stall that'll go up there, stall, and fall down. Now I have a number of other putters that I use, but mainly for driving, or I should say putters and slow molds. And I have the classic Judge also, which is straight and flippy. This one's pretty well beat in. For a little more turn and something that I can almost roll like a hyzer flip putter, I use a Swan Reborn. Then there's the best approach disc made. I've got 3 of them in the bag in different plastics. The Suspect. In Classic Soft, I use it for forehanding a lot, and it stops on a nickel. It's one of those that I don't have to worry about it sliding. If there's OB right behind the basket, it'll set down and stop. The Fusion will go out and it'll carry a little farther forward. It's a little straighter, and it also will give me a little slide. And the bread and butter is the Classic Blend, which is an overstable variety of the Suspect, and it's just really, really nice, either forehand or backhand. It's just a touch faster than putter, but it's got the dependable fade, you know, go out straight and hook up either forehand or backhand. Just, I can't say enough about it. I don't know why more people haven't got it in the bag. Of the slower molds, this is another workhorse. This is my Justice, and it is aggressively overstable. I can turn it loose with a pretty hard anhyzer, have it come out and spike near the basket. And that's the short ones. All right, let's start with understables. And I've got a whole variety for, I put in and out of the bag all the time, depending on the courses and how demanding the course is. I might only have a few molds in. On a course like Dogwood here in Tyler, I've got most every shot covered. I took out a couple of my faster ones and put in a few extra of the slower ones because it's heavily wooded and it leans that way. So one of the ones that I don't carry all the time, but I rely on in the heavy woods, would be this old Fuse. And it's really nice for the straight tunnel shots where you just want a gradual fade to the right and to have it hold on to it and not come out of it. Right. This is all roller discs. The first one is the Fury, which is, for me, the most understable of my 4 that I would throw for rollers or hard turnovers. I've had this one in since the last in the bag, and I'm very familiar with it. It's probably out to about 3 1/4 or a little more. It's a great roller. The Thief is another underrated disc. I use this. This is a Lucid Thief. It's quite a bit more overstable compared to the TC that came out initially. And I beat this one up a lot so I can get it to roll pretty well. But if I leave it some air and have a little hyzer on it, it'll come back out of it and give me a nice long flight. This is good for probably about 400 foot on a roller. Going a little bit longer, this is the West Side King, and I use this for big air, giant anhydrous or rollers, and this one's just about to come out of the bag because I've about got a replacement for it with the Fusion Sheriff. I've got a lightweight Fusion Sheriff that I can get to do just about the same thing now, and these are fighting for the spot. Mid-ranges. My probably most used mid-range is the Verdict. I don't consider the Suspect a mid-range. It's more of just straight up approach, but this one's good out to about 3 1/4 to 350, and it'll go out straight, and then it'll hook up and give me a nice hyzer finish, just a nice controlled shot. The Regular Truth, which is a fairly long, straight, almost interchangeable with a fairway driver. This will go out, and it's understable enough that as it goes to about the halfway point of most drives, it's turning over and giving me a nice planing flight where it's going to come down flat. And the Evidence, which I don't hear much about, but I really like the way it flies. This one is not quite as fast as a Truth, but I find it to be very controllable. It's one of those things I can throw a hyzer with, I can throw an anhyzer with it, and it's one of those do-all mid-ranges that is really easy to work. I really, really like that one. Fairway drivers. And by fairway drivers, I mean the ones that would be a little bit shorter, still pretty far. The Roncon Convict, very straight, throw it out with a tiny bit of hyzer, do a little flip, and then hook up on the end, and it'll go a pretty good clip. This one will go out probably 375 to 400 feet without too much work. This is a Renegade. It's a little bit more understable, and for the tunnel shots that we're throwing today, this is invaluable. I can throw it out with some hyzer, know that it's going to come all the way over, and then hang on to the anhyzer for a while, and then give me a really gradual hook back if I leave it enough air. And the Escape. This is the other one that I'm really leaning on up here, and it's so straight. This one's becoming a little broken in, so I have to give it a little bit of hyzer, but it'll hold on to whatever I give it. And if I put too much hyzer on it, it'll hyzer out. This one will go a surprisingly long ways, probably looking at above 400 foot on a good drive, and it's just so straight. Doesn't really move either way much at all. A little bit faster discs. These are, well, actually I've got most of this set up by stability. So in the next one in the stability range would be a Sheriff. This is a Sparkle, Lucid Sheriff, and it's a little bit more overstable than the pink one I showed you earlier. This one goes out, flies, and gives me a really long flight. This is probably my longest disc right now, and I would say that on a really good pull I can get it up around 475 to 500 foot. Not quite all the time, but given the right conditions I can get it out there a long ways. The other distance and much underrated driver is the Trespass, and I use the Trespass as I won't call it a hyzer flip disc. This one's fairly stable, but I'll throw it out expecting it to give me a little bit of a slide and then hook back up and just carry. If I throw it into a headwind, it'll flip over, but if I throw it across a wind or with any tail, it's going to be a good, straight, long, overstable driver. More overstables, and the bulk of what I throw back home. A lot of these, this is I've got 3 enforcers in here. This is a biofusion enforcer, and it is very well worn in. I've got it to where I can throw it out flat and it'll hold a straight line for a long ways before hooking up and acting like an enforcer again. So you've got a good long flight down a tunnel or something like that, and then a hard finish. The other two are both Lucids. This one just rotated into the bag. I needed a brand new one that I could count on a little more for the anhyzer release and then have it hook up. And this one is pretty well beat in. I've had it in the bag for a few years now, and it's just a very dependable, turn it loose even into a headwind and know that it's going to come back and it's going to be an aggressive fighter. And this is probably between also 375 to 400 foot, but I have to release it with an anhyzer to get it to go that far. And utility overstables. This is a Fusion Felon with a Captain America stamp, and it's a rather flat one. I had trouble initially getting used to the Felon, and this has become a go-to now. It's not quite as far for me. I can't get a really long throw, but I'm developing a forehand, and this is invaluable to me on just a repeat, dependable basis. I can throw the forehand with this and count on a nice clean release and a great shot to the bucket from, you know, say 275. It's going to be coming in pretty overstable. The new addition also would be a Criminal, which is, I love a Lucid Criminal. This is going to be one of the mainstays in my open field course back home, and for getting out of trouble and throwing forehands that are a little bit faster and a little bit longer, and then coming into a skip, this is a really dependable, overstable fairway driver that it's a long fairway. If I turn this over on my release and give it some, I can get it almost as far as an enforcer. Last but not least, the Triple X is another workhorse. This one's been in there for a while. It's still very overstable. It's a little bit shorter than the Criminal, and it has a more compact S. So I can give it a hard anhyzer and have it flex back into a hyzer in a shorter distance. The one thing that I don't carry much of at this course that I would take out some of the slow stuff and put in fast ones is the Defender. And I have one Defender in the bag right now. It's Biofusion, and this is pretty well worn. When I throw it out there though, I can get an exceptionally long flight that's going to come into a hyzer, so I can throw it flat, and because it's so beat in, it'll turn over a little bit and ride and then come back out of it and just go. And this one is into a headwind, or if I have well, a low ceiling, this is my go-to for distance. And that wraps up what I have in the bag. This is Team DD, player Ron Convers, and I hope you enjoyed it.